this is the WebEx concerning the UNOPS invitation to bid for diesel generating sets. I'm joined with two colleagues, Ashabir and Yagna, and the purpose of this WebEx is particularly to focus on the entering of data into UN WebBuy Plus. So normally on a UNOPS tender, everything is done through the e-sourcing system. In this particular tender, because we're going to turn it into a catalog, an electronic catalog, you also have to enter data into the WebBuy tender portal. So because this is a new product, we're going to give a demo now on how to enter the data. So my colleagues will just give a brief introduction, and then we'll get on to the actual WebEx itself. If you have questions along the way, please type into the chat. We can monitor that, and we will either address it at the time or at the end of the session where there'll be a Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I'm Ashabir. I will give you a brief overview of the UNWebBuy Plus, and Yagna will get through the whole demo, how you enter the products and the optional equipment in the WebBuy Plus tendering module. And finally, we will have the feedback session, the question and answer. So we'll look into that as well. Just to give you a brief overview of the UNWebBuy Plus, first, what UNWebBuy Plus is. Yeah, thank you, Yagna. What UNWebBuy Plus? This UNWebBuy Plus platform is designed in an intuitive and is like a user-friendly, comprehensive way of e-commerce portal suitable for humanitarian and developmental workers. It is like the UNWebBuy Plus, the whole is like a full procurement service for both the client side as well for the supplier side. UNWebBuy Plus are able to deliver more than 100 countries worldwide, like geographical distribution from Latin America and Caribbean, Africa, Asia, and Europe as well. So this is the geographical distribution, how UNWebBuy Plus deliver to these areas. There are key factors about UNWebBuy Plus. UNWebBuy Plus, one of the key factors is 104 million annual procurement volume or transaction. UNWebBuy Plus has 1,200 plus registered users from United Nations, international financial institutions, NGOs, different donors, and government institutions. The other key fact is UNWebBuy catalog cover more than 120 countries, including the developmental countries as well, those areas in the conflict arena. I'm on the way to finalize my part. Just on the last, there are keynotes that bidders or suppliers should carefully consider. The first note is you are expected to strictly follow the tender instruction for both the e-sourcing and the e-commerce portal, the UNWebBuy. And the second key point is you are expected to make sure that all products and optional equipment that you would like to submit have a valid price and ordering code. On this, the second note, Yagna in the middle of the demo will also give you additional update. Finally, we will have the question and answers. I will pass to Yagna, and she will present you the demo. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ashabir, and welcome again to everyone. So as mentioned, we will now go to the demo. So I will show you live in the system how it's going to work to add products to the tender form. Just a quick note beforehand, we are recording this session, the same as we did with the first session today morning. And of course, we will share both recordings with you, so you don't need to take notes. Whenever we get questions in the chat, we are going to read them aloud, and we will also publish a summary of the questions and answers in eSourcing if they were tender related. So we believe everyone will have access to the same information. So you can just lean back and relax and watch how to add your products. I'll just have to share my screen with you. Perfect. I hope you all can see it well. So we believe most of you already contacted us in order to participate in the tender, sharing your UNGM numbers with us. And if you have done that, then we have added you to this specific tender. And that's when you see this beautiful orange button that is called tenders on top of your menu after logging in. Please remember that you use your UNGM account to log in, so your UNGM number and the password from UNGM. So as soon as you have these two, you can log in and you reach directly this page where you can see the tenders. In case you can log in but you don't see this menu, please get back to us, because that means that we haven't set you up accordingly. The other menus, the black or dark blue ones, they are only for current LTA holders. So please be aware, there's nothing you should open, there's nothing you should add to here, because anything you add to these tabs will be dismissed. The only thing you should care about is the tenders menu. Ashabir already shared a lot of guides and instructions, and online under the support tab we also have a lot of instructional videos. So you should have all the information already, but sometimes it's just easier to see it on a screen. That's why we guide you through this demo now. But it's no new information. Everything is written down somewhere in one of the fact sheets and guides that we have sent to you previously. Very briefly go back. So once you click on the tenders, you would see my tenders in progress and closed. Closed is only for past LTAs. However, this is the first time we actually do the tender directly through WebBuy, the way of entering the data into WebBuy. So you shouldn't see any closed LTAs or any closed tenders. But in case you would participate in new tenders in the future, then of course you would have a list here. The one that's the important one for now is our generators one. And you have two options. You can edit it and you can print. So we first will start with the editing part. That's the most important, how to add your products, your options, your discounts. And afterwards we will explain the secret about the print, how to print your bidding form and upload it to eSourcing. So once you click on edit, the header is quite self-explanatory. So you see how many days you've got remaining. You see it's still open. And it's very important that you keep an eye on the deadline. There's no extension, so if you don't add your products and submit the signed bidding form before the deadline, you can't participate. So please don't start last minute, start on time. It's not a difficult process, but of course it's something new and you might need a little bit of time to get acquainted to the system. You might have some questions, so please be aware not to ask them the last minute, because then we might not be able to support and guide you anymore. Basically, you have three parts that you have to add. It's your products, it's optional equipment, and discounts. And we would also advise to follow the same order, so you would start adding your products first, then the options, and then the discounts. It simply makes the most sense. Of course, there are separate, like standalone parts that you can add and also edit separately, but it's the easiest to just follow this way. Under your products, you have several menu points. The first one is a list, which will simply show you the products that you have already added. If you are a supplier who already has a current LTA for generators with us, then you would see your products in here. So we've copied them over from your previous LTA, and you would be able to see them. You would have to look through them because there are some new specifications that you will have to add, and you will have to make sure that you add a current price and amend the ordering code as well. That's very important. As Ashabir mentioned, price and ordering codes are very important things. If there are products or options that don't have these two fields, then they will not be printed on the bidding form later. So as you can see, this one, for example, doesn't have an ordering code yet. If you're a new supplier and it's the first time you participate, then you will have to add all of your products one by one. And as soon as you add them, they will appear in the list here as well. So in order to get here, of course, we have to go under Add New. And there we have all the menu to add new products. So as you can see up here, you have dark red, dark orange colored tabs. That means that you have some mandatory information that's missing. Of course, you have the asterisk here. You see which fields are mandatory. It's important that you cannot save a product if not all mandatory fields are filled out. So you can start adding a product, and you don't have to fill out all the information. You can always get back to it later, check the information, amend, add. However, the required fields must be filled, otherwise you cannot. Simply the save button will be grayed out, and if you leave the site, then of course the product will be lost. You don't have much choice for the catalogs because you only bid for one, that's the generators. However, there's a lot of choices for the categories, as you can see. Shouldn't be any new information for you, but you will have to select one in order to proceed. For the name, let's just put some tests. But please be aware to put in some meaningful names. I mean, maybe not just the model code or not only generator, but that's the name that clients are going to see, right? It's an e-commerce platform. So it would make sense to have it slightly more specific. However, this information is specified in many guides. So if you look at the supplier user guide section B, if you look at our fact sheets, we've pretty much explained how to add a good product name and how to add good descriptions that I will get back to in a minute. So you have all this information somewhere in the guide where you can have a look. And it's not information that is evaluated during the tender. So even you get even if your product gets awarded, you will still have time to amend, let's say, the name to make it sound more useful. So don't worry too much about it, but you're of course welcome to have a look in the guide to see how to do it. The next tab are the main details. If you're a new supplier, you will probably have to add a new brand that you can just type in. For all suppliers, you will find your brand in the drop-down. The rest is pretty easy. The only thing that's important to know is that you have to add each in the unit of measure, and you can do the same under the sales unit. For the sales unit, you have a choice between each and box, but if you put in each into both, that's the easiest way. It's not so much for you, it's more for our own system to be able to identify the products and the units correctly. So that's why it's quite important. Normally for generators, the quantity per sales unit is 1, and the minimum sales order per unit, that depends on you. Of course, if you have some thresholds, you can enter them if you have a minimum of 5, etc. The more flexible you are, the better. So if you can sell one at once, put in 1. And then the minimum warranty is of course fixed because that's the minimum requirement of the tender. But we will show you later how you can add additional warranties, like a higher warranty, and of course how you can select after-sales service, which is also quite important for our clients. I will not fill out all the fields on the way. I will just guide you a little bit, but we will not create a whole product, so don't worry, it's not going to last too long. An important part, one of the most important parts, is of course the price. You have to enter a valid from field, which is always the next day. It's the earliest one you can enter. Valid 2, you can leave it blank. You can either select the LTA end date or you just leave it blank because for now that's not really important. And then you enter your price and you select the correct product currency. Next part are the descriptions. As mentioned, we've already put some notes into the guide how to add descriptions. I think I have I don't have an open product. I can let me very briefly open one of the products that we already have just to show you. But again, it's nothing that's going to be evaluated during the tender. However, it's very important once you get awarded because that's what the clients can see, and that's also what the search engine is looking through. So all kinds of keywords that you put in here will be caught by the search engine, and that will help our clients to navigate through the system. So that's just an example to say how the generators can be used, for which purpose, in which environment, if they have a hybrid option or not, etc. Let me get back. Next point are the images. It's also quite easy to add images. You can add up to 6 images, and we recommend to have them added from different perspectives, front, back, side, etc. Here under the description field, you can add a disclaimer. There you go, for illustration purposes only, and then you simply upload your images. Again, this is not the most important part of the tender evaluation, but for the clients, of course, it is important afterwards. A crucial tab for the evaluation are the specifications, and that follows pretty much what you already could see in the tender document. It's just in an electronic form where you have the possibility to fill out all the required fields. I think it's very self-explanatory and you know about the technical details of your product, so it's not much to explain. You will see that you have some ranges that you're allowed to enter. Those follow the minimum requirements of the tender. And then maybe one interesting field below is the hybrid option. That's something that's new this year, and it's very important for sustainable choices for our clients. So we would very much appreciate if you can indicate if there's a hybrid option available or not, and if yes, which type. This field will be used as a filter for clients. So if you do have these options, we really recommend to select so that the clients can find products by filtering. The next part is called equipment. So don't be confused. It is mainly standard equipment, or you can also call it standard features, anything that's kind of part of the generator and that's required. So we've already added everything that was the minimum requirement in the tender. So you're not allowed to delete anything because that's of course the minimum requirement. You're obviously allowed to add if you have higher quality products, or if you can offer anything else that you believe is important for us to know. You're welcome to expand the list. You can just click in here and type. There are a few exceptions where you would be allowed to exchange or like to amend the field. So for example, here the installation to minimum, blah, blah. And then you have equivalent or equivalent. So here, if you have an equivalent, then of course you can replace this line and you type in the equivalent that you have, right? Or you can add a new line as well. So that's the only exception. If you would like to add something that's equivalent or higher, you're allowed to do so, but please don't delete anything from this list. The next step is called shipping. I can see there's a question. We will get back to that later. Once I stop sharing my screen, then I have access to the whole tab. So one moment of patience. The shipping is mainly the shipping dimensions. That's again something that's very important for afterwards when your products get awarded, because that's how we calculate our automatic freight rates. So of course we use the dimensions that you gave us, and if these are wrong, then it can lead to potential issues. But it should be pretty, I would say, straightforward to fill out the dimensions. To fill out how many units fit into each type of container. That's not mandatory, but again, it can help. The country of origin is mandatory. Shipping description is not, but that's more, it's information you would like to provide to the freight forwarder or to the client. So if your products are delivered, assembled, disassembled, if you need to know anything when you ship them, so that's information that's available for the freight forwarder, but it's also something you can fill out afterwards if your products get awarded. Then production time is very important. As you can see here, we have an X-stock or a stock checkbox. So this box can be ticked if your products take maximum 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks production time. Everything above is not considered stock anymore. So in that case, you should just unselect the box. Of course, you can still type in the amount of calendar days. Be aware that it's days, it's not weeks. So you put in the production time in days. Even if it takes 6 months, that's how it takes, but please then don't tick the extra box. Delivery options, that's mainly the FCA points. So you can add airports and ports. You can add as many as you wish, as long as you can deliver free of charge to any of these ports or airports. And we have a very big list of ports in our database. So when you start typing, you should be able to see the options. If there might be the case that you can't find your port or your airport for whatever reason, then please contact us and we can check if it's a valid port and we can add it to our database so it would appear here. FCA Incoterm is of course fixed, so there's not much to do for you. Great. So now we reach the shipping tab, and until the shipping tab, those are fields or those are tabs that you need to fill out in order to be able to save a product. So if you reach this tab and you filled out everything, the Add Product button down here will become active and you will be able to add, so kind of you save your product, and then you can continue working on it afterwards. There are a few more things that you would need to fill out even after adding your product, and that's availability and warranty. And then documents, that's more for additional documents you would like to add. Again, this one can be done later on, where you would upload, for example, your tender specification sheets. And the most important for now are availability and warranty. Availability is because clients, when they log into our site, they choose a country where they want to procure to. and they will only see products that are available for this country. So you have to be very careful when you assign the availability that you distinguish between 50 and 60 Hertz generators, because of course 50 Hertz are not available in all the countries, the same for 60 Hertz. To do so, it's easiest to do it in bulk. I will show you in a moment how that works. So you can do it for all 50 at once and for all 60 Hertz at once. And here you can also select if availability is confirmed or if it has to be confirmed. That's more like a check, something for you. If you would like to be contacted by us before every order on a case-by-case basis to check availability, you can move a country to the last column. For example, you can move Afghanistan to be confirmed if you just cannot guarantee that a generator will be available there. If all the rest is confirmed, it's confirmed. And then the warranty tab looks very similar. I have to click on new warranty here. You can select one. This was from a previous product that I've added, so it will already appear in the drop-down. But let's say the minimum warranty is 1 year. You would like to order 2 years, then you just type it in, right? It's very easy. And then as mentioned in the beginning, for our clients, after-sales service is quite important. So especially if you do have after-sales service in some countries, we really recommend that you assign these countries to the column with local representation, because then we will know that you have after-sales service available. It's not a requirement, so warranty is a requirement, but after-sales service is not. So for all the other countries, you can move them to without local representation. And of course, you can move them all at once, you can move them one by one, you can move them back and forth. I think that's kind of easy. Very briefly, as mentioned, these two, the availability and warranty, you can do them in bulk because they are quite similar for many types, right? So they're similar for the same category. Again, all the 50 Hertz will be probably available in the same countries. So instead of going one by one, you can go to assign product availability. And here you can select the products that you would assign the availability. So let's say the first two are 50 Hertz and this one is 60 Hertz. So we just go for the 50 Hertz one. Of course, you would select the countries, right? It's just like to make it easy. And then you assign the countries and you click on assign. So that's a bit easier way. And then you go back to the same menu, you select the 60 Hertz one and you do the same. And last but not least, again, exactly the same for the warranty. You can add a new warranty. You can select which products you would like to assign it to. You can select which countries should have local representation and which should not. And then you click on assign. So that's all for products. Well, almost all. Actually, there's another important point that I almost forgot. So once you add your products, they will appear here in the list, as I mentioned at the beginning. So you would be able to export them to Excel. So that's just, if you want to review them, maybe you have your own Excel sheets, you could use some comparison functions. So it's up to you. It's just an easy way to review your products in Excel. You can also view them. That's like kind of client view. So there's, for example, no picture, so you could see that, how it looks for clients. It's exactly the information you have entered, but you can see, maybe if you put in nice descriptions for your spare part kits or something like that. The edit is, as mentioned before, to edit your products. So in the morning session, we actually had a question how long you can access and edit your products, and you can do so until the end, mainly. But of course, be aware that not to edit them anymore after you submit your bidding form, because then there will be a mismatch, and then we can't take the changes into consideration anymore. So yeah, you can edit, delete. My mouse showing like this. Okay, well, the delete button is also quite useful if, for example, you accidentally add a wrong product. If you add too many, you can just, especially if you had already products in WebBuy, maybe you don't want to offer them again, so you can simply delete them. It's quite an easy way to just delete them from the list, so they wouldn't be submitted in your offer anymore. And then a last shortcut that's also very useful is to copy products, and you can do so within the same category. So remember, if you have different categories, you cannot copy in between, but within the same one, you can copy. So I have an issue with my mouse. Yeah. They would not go. Okay. Cannot scroll up and down anymore. Okay, one moment. Let me quickly refresh the page. Honestly, I cannot click anywhere anymore. Ah, yeah, okay. Now at least I can scroll down. Let's see. So as you can see, now we copied the product. There are two fields that will be empty. That will be the ordering code. The very famous ordering code is always empty and needs to be filled out. And then the same for the price, because of course every product needs a different price. And as soon as we save it, it will again appear in our list. Now it's all for the products. Optional equipment is pretty much the same. I mean, it will go a little bit faster. Just to show you again, you have a list. Again, you can see what you've added. Again, you can edit existing options. You can delete. And you can add new ones. Here you can select for which categories you would like to add an option. So I believe there are options that are available for all your generators. So then the easiest is to just add them to all the categories, right? You move them at once, and then you will be able to assign them to each product into these categories. But if you have a specific option that option is only available for the first one, then you only move this one. You just have to be aware that at the moment of adding an option, you have to select which categories you would like to use it for. You cannot change it afterwards, but you can of course delete the option and add it again to the correct categories. But just think a bit ahead which products and which categories are going to need that option. Oh, this mouse is driving me crazy. Good. Third type. For now, it's not. I mean, we have two different types of options. It's a package, so it's more like a configuration package that would actually reconfigure your product, and an option that's added to the product. For now, I would recommend you go for the options. If we believe something is a package, we could tell you afterwards, but for the tender evaluation, that doesn't really matter, so don't bother, just select an option. Of course, you will have to put in the name, another code. And then there are two fields that are, again, part of these two that are very important for our clients, but not for the tender evaluation. So you will be able to indicate if an option equipment increases the shipping dimensions. So for example, if you order a generator with this option, it would not fit into a container anymore, or we would need to reconfirm the shipping dimensions with you. That's important for us to know, so we make sure that we get the correct dimensions and we contact the freight forwarders on time. Another box that's important, let's say for the clients, is to see if optional equipment increases the delivery time. And that's simply if a client wants to do some emergency procurement, they need a generator in 2-3 weeks, and then they order an option that suddenly would take 30 days longer, they might reconsider their choice and not go for an option that takes so long. So that's why it's very important for us simply to know if an option would increase the delivery time or not. Oh, no, it's not moving. Okay, then you can enter a price and the currency. Just remember to add the same currency as the product. I have to try to. Oh, no, I cannot do anything. It's completely stuck.
Sorry. You use my computer?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Let me bring it.
I will try to continue. So the UNSPSC code that you can see underneath is kind of preset by us. So you would just need to open the drop down and then you can select it. And then underneath, the field that I right now cannot show you is a description field. It's not mandatory if you add an option, but of course, if you add options such as a spare part kit, it's actually really, really useful for us to know what's part of the spare part kit. Also for the evaluation, because we would like to know which items are in there, what is it composed of. So that could be quite some useful information. We're trying to fix our mouse issue. So I'm sorry for the frozen screen, but in the meanwhile, I can try to explain you how options and products are related. So they're added separately, like there are two different lists added to WebBuy, but afterwards you can assign, and I will show you in a second as soon as I can move my screen how that works. So you can assign options to different products. So that would help our tender evaluators to know which options belong to which products. If you forget to assign one, that it's not going to have any big impact, but still you would just make it easier for us. Thank you, Ashbir. Let's see if the mouse works. I think so. But it would make life easier if we know how to. Okay, that doesn't work either. That's a very funny issue I never had beforehand. Sorry for the delay. I might need to. What can I do?
Restart, maybe.
Yeah, restart. No. Ah, perfect. Ah, it's started moving. You see, I threatened it. Okay, at least it's moving. Perfect. That was the description field I mentioned. Let's see how long it lasts this time. Great. And that will be assigned. It will be the assign and bulk menu. So you will see all the categories where you have products in. And then you can see under this category, we've got 4 products, and all 4 of them should get a spare part kit. And then you just click on assign. That's as easy as it is. And I will show you in a moment how you can see it on the bidding form. So on the bidding form will be a great overview to actually see if everything looks correct. So don't worry too much. But before we can get to the bidding form, our last part will be the discounts that are, of course, nicely seen and very welcome by clients. You're very free to add the discounts you wish, so you can add a generator discount. The description is pretty much up to you. And then you enter the quantities. So let's say 5 products and up will give you 1% discount. Then you can add a new row, and let's say 10 products up will give you 2% discount. And you can add as many rows as you wish. So just bear in mind that that's of course like the lower value, right? So 5 up, in this case 5 to 9 will be 1%. In this case 10 up will be 2. As soon as you enter another discount 15, it will be 10 to 14 is 2, and then 15 up will give 3, whatever. So that's how it works. A product is not taken into consideration until you actually add the products. So remember to either select them one by one or add all. Otherwise, you will see in a moment on the bidding form, it will not appear on the bidding form. So don't be confused that you cannot delete a product, a discount. If you added something wrongly, just remove all the products and it will not be shown on the bidding form. Great, now we've talked so much about the bidding form, I think it's time to show you how it works. And that brings us to our print button here. So it's good for you to know that you can print as many bidding forms as you want. So anytime you add something, if you want to double check, whatever, you're welcome to print them. We don't mind as many as you want. You always see the date and the time, so you can easily recognize the latest form you've printed. You should just make sure that you upload the latest form to eSourcing. So make sure that once you reviewed everything, once you changed everything, you can have a look here. If you see something is wrong, you would go back, change it, print a new form. That's no problem at all, as long as the tender is open. As soon as the tender closes, the bidding form must have been uploaded to eSourcing. And of course, you wouldn't be able to change any products anymore. So I guess many of you know our standard bidding form. So you fill out your contact information, you review the products that you have added, you review the optional equipment you have added, and as mentioned, you would see here in the assigned to products to which product an option belongs. So you can see our items in the spare part kit. Then we have one discount that had assigned products. That's why it shows up in the bidding form. And then you just tick the box, sign it, and submit it to eSourcing. Was it a price sheet?
Price schedule.
Price schedule. So this was also a question from the morning session. So that's this PDF should be uploaded as price schedule. Yes, so as mentioned, you're free to print it as often as you wish. Just once you upload the final version, don't change anything anymore, because it's the PDF that will count. So even if you add a new product, like after you upload the bidding form to eSourcing, we are not going to take that into consideration anymore. The products on the bidding form are the ones that are going to be evaluated. And of course, the bidding form only gives you an overview, so you know which products you have added and which options. But the technical details you have entered, they are saved in WebBuy, and they will be evaluated in WebBuy. So, so you just kind of show us which products you would like to submit, and then we will extract the technical data from WebBuy and evaluate them. Okay, now I talked a lot. I think that's it for the demo. Let's see if we've got any questions, and then the floor will be yours if you would like to know more. So the first question, let me see, what do you mean by hybrid option? Normally in relation to a solar system, the system will control the generator for optimal operating conditions. So basically it's a sort of auto start mode, or do you interpret hybrid differently? I will pass over the question to David.
Okay, so there have been a number of questions about the hybrid. So firstly, after this demonstration, I will also be adding some clarifications, but all of the clarifications will be visible on the e-sourcing system. So as I say, there already have been some questions about the hybrid. Please look on the e-sourcing system for the clarifications. But on this particular question, so the purpose of the hybrid is it's quite simple actually. So we are asking for power generators. What we would like to be able to offer to our clients is the possibility of connecting solar panels to the generating system. So this, you don't have to offer this. This is an option. So the basic generating units that you offer do not have to be hybrid. But what we're asking for is, if possible, as an option, there are two different options, then you can offer this interface. So it's only the interface that we're asking for. We're not asking for a big solar panels and connecting equipment. It's simply that the generating unit can have the interface possibility. And this is obviously there's a lot of requirement now for environmentally friendly power, so we would like to investigate this if possible. So this is just an option. As I say, I will put a clarification on the e-sourcing. Please review that there.
That's actually also quite a good point. If you have any questions in the future, so bidding related questions have to be asked through e-sourcing. So now it's a little bit of an exception because we have the WebEx, we will share it, and they will upload all the clarifications into e-sourcing. But after this WebEx, you would need to go to e-sourcing to ask bidding related questions, and the deadline is 8th of April, I believe,
yes, yeah.
to ask. So please make sure you look into all the documents on time if you have any questions.
So that's the deadline for clarifications on the bidding exercise. That's anything in the ITB, anything to do with the technical specifications, that's the 8th of April. If you have a question about the actual WebBuy tender portal, then you are welcome to still ask questions all the way up to the deadline, but obviously as early as possible is beneficial for everybody.
Exactly. So you're welcome to use our email address, unwebbyplus@unops.org. That's the one we've already written to you from. That's for everything that's, I would say, system related, right? If you can't add a product, if it's not saved, if you don't see an option in the drop down that you would like to select, then you're welcome to get back to us at any time. However, we are not going to answer bidding related.
And that is a clarification that is just about to be posted now, so it will state exactly that.
Further to that, in order to participate and in order to access the tendering portal, you are expected to share with us your UNEGM number through our shared mailbox.
Exactly.
As Yagna said, unwebbyplus.org. So please make sure that you are sharing us your UNEGM number. So we'll add your UNEGM number in our system, like for tendering module purpose only. So we'll share with you the tendering guidelines and the generator info sheet for you.
Yes. I mean, you will realize if you're not set up correctly, you will not see the orange tender button.
Yeah.
So then you know that you would have to share your UNEGM number with us. So that's pretty easy. Yes, I don't know, let me think. You're welcome to think about questions. We will try to think about what has been asked in the morning session to give you some time in case any more questions come up. So there was a little bit of confusion about, what's the WebBuy part, what's the e-sourcing part, but you can see WebBuy simply as the kind of the technical specification entry point. It's like a way to get the data in our database, so we can extract them to evaluate. All the remaining part will go through e-sourcing as always. It's also a way for us to get your product already in WebBuy, because of course we hope if many products get awarded, then they will stay in WebBuy and you would not need to re-enter them. Then you can just fine-tune them with Ashabir, and then they will be published to clients. And then clients enter the external portal and will be able to select your product. So that's how it works. Are there any more questions? Anything that's unclear, confusing? In the morning we had a question about how the evaluation works. I'm not sure if you would like to repeat it or if everyone should just have a look on the clarifications.
The clarifications will be posted later today,
Okay.
but that one, there was just a question on what is the key evaluation criteria. And basically the evaluation will be done as stated in the ITB. There's a section called evaluation method, and basically all the bids will be evaluated technically and to be sure that everything is compliant with the requirements. All of those that are compliant will then be financially evaluated, and by that we look at the FCA price of the generator unit only and compare that with the average price. And the intention here is that we don't intend to award one winner. We intend to have multiple LTAs, maybe 2, maybe 5, so that our clients can select from a range of generating units. The intention is that they then will select the one that meets their needs best. And the reason for this is because in different countries and different regions, certain brands, certain types of generator are more used or preferred, and this gives our clients, just like on any other platform where people are shopping, that they have a choice of products to buy.
David, there is another question. Are we allowed to add solar modules, inverters, and storage as an option?
So the question is, are we allowed to add solar modules, inverters, and storage as an option? Yes. And you're allowed to add whatever options you wish. You are allowed to add these. They won't be, by adding options, it does not reduce your chances of passing, because they won't be, the price won't be added into the main evaluation, financial evaluation. So we list some suggested options, and you are welcome to add any other options you feel are suitable. The more options you add, they will be visible to clients, and obviously if there's interest, then they will look for the models that include these options.
Maybe one small thing that might be useful for you, if you intend to add a lot of products or if you anticipate a lot of work, you are able to log in at the same time as other colleagues, so you can share the work between you. You can do so by using the same account, or Ashabir has shared some guidelines beforehand on how to invite additional email addresses to UNGM, because remember, you use your UNGM login details. So in UNGM, you can invite additional email addresses to your account, and all these email addresses will be able to log in directly to WebBuy and work on the same tender and add products or amend products and options and discounts at the same time. Just remember not to work on the same product, because of course if 2 people work on the same product, you will overwrite each other's updates. But you can perfectly fine work on separate products or different options.
Just one note from the morning session question. You can find only one bidding form. You can print one on bidding form, even though you fill for like so many categories, like according to the system or the specification, for like 5 kVA, 60 kVA, 10 kVA, 15 kVA, 200 kVA, something like that. You can find only one bidding form, and you will submit that bidding form in the PDF format as tendering bidding form, part of the pricing schedule.
Great. Let's see. There are some more questions to come up. I mean, we're still here. We still have some time. Even if right now you can't think about questions, we can mute ourselves and stay here for another 5 minutes or so. So let's see. I don't see anything urgent coming in right now. But as mentioned, you also still have some time to ask your questions either through e-sourcing or through unwebbyplus@unops.org. Yeah, so for now, I would like to thank everyone for joining and for listening. And yeah, as I mentioned, we will stay online for another couple of minutes in case you have any questions. Please feel free. Otherwise, we wish you a great evening or great day, depending where you are. And see you next time.